Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley is brought to you by Aggressive Marketing Solutions, your solution for all business social media needs. If you need a team of social media marketers and content creators to help you build your brand on social media, text WES 2020 to 541-709-6502 today. Get started building your brand on social media. Success is defined differently by every individual. Some have never even considered what it is. I hope when I get older I'll be successful. What does that even mean? Money? Cars? Big house? On this show, we strive to look at it a little deeper, learning from successful individuals on what they believe success really is and how to obtain it. Everybody, enjoy the show. This is Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I just wanted to do a little bit of what I like to call bonus coverage on my episode with Eli Marcus. If you checked out the podcast last week, the live show, which actually airs on Thursday night at 6:30 Mountain Standard Time, 5:30 Pacific, you checked out what was going on with me and Eli. Before we get to starting to talk about me breaking down Eli and the bonus coverage, I want to talk a little bit about my sponsors. I got a couple of really good sponsors that help me out. Aggressive Marketing Solutions has been a sponsor of the show as long as it's been in existence. Well, with the exception of the first 4 episodes, but they've been there for me no matter what. They do a lot of things like recording, posting my videos and things like that. Also, my show is live on TVPBN, which is a live streaming network on Facebook. That's where you get to see me interview my guests. That drops, like I said, at 6:30 Mountain Standard Time, 5:30 Pacific. Every Thursday, as of right now. We've moved it around a couple times, but tune in there. If you're listening to this on the podcast, do me a favor. If this brings you any value or any of my other podcasts have brought you value before, please leave a 5-star rating and give it a review, because those reviews totally help me to make this thing grow. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get some growth here. I've got 24 episodes under my belt. I have some really great guests coming up. I've gotten this really great networking group as well that is just opening doors to everything. And so, with that being said, let's get to what I want to talk about in this episode of bonus coverage. My guest on Thursday was a guy by the name of Eli Marcus. If you haven't heard of Eli, you need to go check him out. He has a great platform that he is working on. He is a podcaster, a motivational speaker, a motivational guru, what I would like to call a connector. He works on getting people connected to other people. That's his forte. He also does a whole lot of other stuff. I will put his website in the show notes. And if you haven't listened to the episode that dropped on Tuesday, you need to go back and check it out. But this is kind of a brief synopsis of some of the things that I took away from that episode with Eli. So what is a connector is what I want to talk about. Now, if you listen to podcasts and you've ever heard of the guy named Lewis Howes, that's what they kind of talk to him about, is he's a connector. He's basically a person who knows a bunch of people, who has made these relationships with people, and he's connecting one with another. So say this podcast, for instance, it's a motivational podcast, and I connect with entrepreneurs who talk about how they've shaped their success and created success in everything that they do. Well, if I was trying to get a hold of another person, Eli knows a lot of people. So what I would do is I would say, hey, Eli, can you connect me, connector, right, with someone who has a motivational background so I can speak with them on my podcast? That's what he does. He figures out who you are, what you need, and connects you with the very best platform. And he doesn't go by connector, but that's what I look at him as. We had a great interview. And one of the things that I liked talking about is, treating people the way that you would want to be treated. And we have this situation going on, this kind of elephant in the room that I don't want to talk a whole lot about. But what I want to say is the fact of the matter is that, in my opinion, everyone is a human being, and you should treat every single person as you would want to be treated yourself. The Bible goes as far as to love thy neighbor as thyself. And that is very important. So thinking about those types of things when you are interacting with everyone is something that really I want to implore you to do. And Eli talked about that, finding out what others' needs are and putting them before you. And that's a very important thing, because how many times are you trying to reach out to someone and figure out what exactly it is that you want, right? What you want. You're not really thinking about what you can give them or how you can help them. You're putting your personal needs first. And that's one of the things that really hurts you when you're trying to connect with people. When you're trying to make things happen for yourself, you tend to forget about them and what you can do to help them out. So think about that in your interactions with people. One of the things that really has helped me to succeed in getting guests on the show is that I connect with people as well. And, I had this interview that if you haven't checked out with Rob Brantley, well, it turned out that I was in his hitting coaches. In my day job, I sell blinds. I was in his hitting coach's house selling him blinds. He had just moved here from California. I live in Idaho. And I ran into him and we started talking about baseball. And I was just kind of genuine about who I am and what I did and all that stuff. And for those of you who don't know, I was a teacher for 4 years and I also coached baseball for 5. So, I have a real interest in baseball. I wasn't very good at it. I was actually a pretty good football player, got a scholarship to play in college, but not baseball. But I love baseball. So anyway, that's a whole nother side story. But the fact of the matter is I met with this guy and I started talking to him and he started telling me, I know this guy and I know this guy. And I just was like really excited and talking to him about that. And then, just kind of left it there. Had a good relationship with him, built a rapport with him. And then he ended up buying some shades from me. And then about 6 months later, he messaged me and he's like, hey, he goes, I was wondering, I'm thinking about coaching a baseball team around here. They asked me, they're looking for a coach. And I was wondering if you knew anyone you could connect me with or talk to. Well, I had a really good relationship with the people who make, the shirt and clothing and things like that and uniforms. And he's actually part of that school. He creates uniforms for that school. He knows those people. And so I connected him with that. In that conversation, he connected me with Rob Brantley, and I was able to do one of the lifelong dreams that I had, able to interview a San Francisco Giant. Because if you haven't noticed back here, and if you're listening, I got some Giants uniforms and a bunch of Giants memorabilia because I've been a big Giants fan my whole life. So anyway, I got that connection based on just being a good, genuine person. How can I help you? What can I do for you? And then that came from that. So it's very important that you are just genuine, that you really take an interest in what other people think. That's one of the great things that Eli talked about and how he's created some of his success. One of the other things that Eli talked about, which is crazy because when I was in college, I took this college the second time because I failed the first time. But there's another good thing right there is I failed the first time. I went back and got 2 degrees, right? I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that I went from a 1.76 GPA and then ended up with a 3.75 GPA in my master's degree. Finished in 4 years, college, both degrees. So 4 and 4, done, got a master's. But that was one of the things that he talked about was the fact that he was an introvert. So, which brings me back to the fact that I took this test and I always thought that I was an introvert. I always thought I was a person who was internal, who kept things to myself. And then I slowly but surely realized that I am not even close to an introvert, not even at all. The difference is that I like to be around other people that I know. And I'm not really good at striking up a conversation with people that I don't know. But you get me one-on-one with someone and I don't shut up. And I figured that out. So taking that test, I figured out that I was an extrovert, a big one, not a little extroverted, a lot. And so, but one of the things that Eli talked about was he had this hard time talking to people, or getting out there, putting himself out there. And he was a very introverted person. So what he did was he went and found the job that was the most extroverted job that he could find as a salesman. And so when he did that, he went out and he set out to be the very best salesman that he could. And it was great because he did that. He created a rapport with all these people. And one of the very first people that he introduced himself to was an NFL linebacker. And so he got to talk to him. He had been retired. He was a Jets player. He had been retired for a while. And he ended up selling him stuff because he was a very genuine person and he looked into the interests of what he had. And that's how he created that success. So he got outside of his comfort zone, which is one of the hardest things to do. I've been in this podcast group for a while talking to people, and one of the things that they talked about was it's very hard to get out of your comfort zone and do things. Well, when I started this process, I started doing all these little 5-minute IGTV episodes, and it helped me to be able to talk like this to you right now. But I prefer to do live stuff. This is actually recorded, but I really prefer to do live stuff. I'm recording this episode because I don't want to put it out on the live right now. But I prefer live because it's authentic. And you're not going to get me. I'm not going to edit this. I'm not going to stop this. I'm just going to take it. I'm going to add a beginning and an end to it and stick this in the middle, and I'm going to post it. And that's because I think it's authentic that way. Now, that's just me. There's lots of people who want it to be perfect. They want to go and edit every single thing that they can. I'm not going to do that because it's just not me. I like being authentic. I like being myself. So that's really, something that's really big, is being your authentic self and not being afraid to make that mistake. Because if you do make that mistake, what do? You get back on the horse. And that was another thing that Eli brought up, was the fact that when do most people quit? If you gave yourself 5 tries, when do most people quit? So they start and they hit usually about right in the middle there. And I've been a victim of this myself, because I started to try and sell something at one point. I hit up one person, I hit up two people. They both said no, and that was it. I quit. I didn't believe in the product enough to try and sell it anyway. So that was kind of part of the problem, that, I just decided that I was going to just keep going with other things, and I didn't really like what I was doing. But in reality, when you start something and you don't think that if it's something that you truly believe in and something that you really want, it's going to take more than 1 or 2 or 3 tries to get it perfect. Very rarely does someone who is successful reach their goal on the very first try. And if they do, that goal wasn't very good. You got to reach for the sky. You got to think like Grant Cardone talks about, and go 10x everything that you do. So think about it that way. Think about what you want to do, what your goal is, and then multiply that by 10. And that's what the end result should be, because sometimes you're going to end up in the middle there, but you're going to reach that goal. So, we talked about that. We talked about taking interest in other people and things like that. One of the other things that Eli talked about that was really important, in that you have to be willing to ask. You have to be willing to ask the hard question. You have to be willing to ask someone to do something. You have to be willing to ask to get what you want. If you're sitting here looking, there's some jerseys back here behind me. Like I talked about, their Giants jerseys. I have tried really hard to get Hunter Pence over here, other side, Hunter Pence on my podcast. It's really important to me because I watch Hunter Pence play baseball. If you're a baseball fan, if you ever watch this guy play, he is all out, 100 miles an hour, balls to the wall. The guy never stops no matter what. He's a hardworking hustler. And when I coached baseball, I always told kids, run to first base like Hunter Pence. Run like it's like you weren't going to get thrown out. You lay down a bunt. If you don't run it out, you never know what's going to happen. Can the pitcher pick up the ball and overthrow the first baseman and you're on first base? Sure can. Can you score from the dugout? You lay down that bunt, the pitcher picks it up, you just turn around and walk back into the dugout. He overthrows the first baseman, and you're in the dugout already. Can't score from the dugout. Very important. Okay. So you have to be willing to ask. You have to be willing to work hard. And I've asked Hunter a couple times, and I'm going to continue to push on him, because that is something that is highly important to me, is to have someone like that talk about their success and how they created that. And that's what my show is about. My show is about showing others how people become successful in whatever it is. It doesn't matter if you're a pro baseball player. It doesn't matter if you are an advertising person. It doesn't matter if you're a podcaster. Whatever you do, you need to be willing to do that to the best of your abilities in order to be successful. And what do most people do? They get to that third or fourth. They don't get a whole lot of traction. They quit. So don't let that go with you. One of the things that Eli also said was, what happens to people's gifts? Okay. So obviously you have a gift. You don't know what it is, or maybe you haven't found it yet, but you have a gift. And when you figure out what that is, it's very freeing. And one of my gifts that I feel that I have is that I am authentic, that you know exactly where you stand with me, that you get that information from me right off the bat. And so I don't want to let that gift do what Eli said. Eli said they let their gifts go to the grave because they're scared of failing. Okay? Go to the grave. It dies. Your gift dies. Your talent dies because you give up and you're not willing to pursue it. Because why? Maybe it gets a little too hard. Maybe you fail. Get those boots back on, pull them up high, and get back in the game. Okay? That's all there is to it. If you want it that bad, you have got to be willing to work for it. Don't quit after the first 1 or 2 times. Which I'm going to end with this because I really think that this is the most important thing that Eli said. Okay. And I believe in this as well. I read one of John Wooden's books, and it talked about what his idea of success was. Okay. And what, in a nutshell, what it was giving everything that you possibly could, no matter what, to the best of your ability. Okay. Knowing that you left it all on the table and you did everything that you could do to be successful. If you do that, if you go out and you leave it all on the table and you do everything possible that you can, then there is nothing to be upset about. And he talked about that. He said, when you win or when you lose, because for some of those who don't know who Coach Wooden is, he was a coach at UCLA. They won lots of national championships. But what he always asked was, if you win or you lose, it doesn't matter. As long as you went out there, you won when you put all the effort in that you had, that you were willing to work as hard as you possibly could, no matter what. And if you did that and you left it all out on the table, sometimes that's not good enough to win the game, but it's good enough because you can feel good about yourself when you go get dressed in the locker room. So I want to leave you with that because I want you to think about that. I want you to think about, are you doing everything to the best of your ability? And when I started to do that, it was freeing to me. The positive part of my life that changed when I went from this negative mentality, this negative mindset, the thing that changed the whole situation was that when I was going into these sales calls and I wasn't closing them, I wasn't converting them, I wasn't hard on myself because I knew that I educated that person to the very best I could. I gave them everything that I had. I gave them all the tools to make a good decision and to buy from me. And they just didn't choose to. They choose to go a different way. And that could be anything that's out of my control. Their price is lower. They didn't like my beard. They didn't like my red shirt. They didn't like the product that I sold. Those are all things that are out of my control, correct? I mean, obviously I could change my shirt, but I don't know that when I walk in there. And so those are things that you have to think about. Control what you can control. And when you do that, when you give your best effort, no matter what your success is, because again, success is different to everyone. Okay. No matter what it is, if you've given your best effort and you leave it all on the table, it will never die in the grave. Okay. So anyway, that is the end of this bonus coverage episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, hit me in the DMs. I am everywhere on IG. I'm everywhere. So I'll put my link tree in the bio of the show notes here. This is going to go up on IG. This will go up on Facebook. This will go up on Twitter. And then it's going on the podcast. Like I said in the beginning, please do me a favor. If you found value in this, please give it a 5-star rating and write a review, because that's what's going to push it to the top. And that's what we need. We need to push this positive message to everyone. We need to keep it continually going so that people can be motivated and pushed to their highest and utmost abilities. Okay. So again, I want to say thank you to my sponsors at Aggressive Marketing Solutions and TVPBN. I look forward to talking to you guys coming up on Thursday. I'm going to have the live show. This will be dropping on Thursday because the episode drops on Tuesday. So this bonus coverage will drop on Thursday, and then we record the live show. Have a great guest. I'm very excited to have her on. She has a great story. I hope that you can tune in. All the links are in my bio, like I said. Anyway, have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.
This was Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley, brought to you by Aggressive Marketing Solutions. If you need a team of marketers to help you with social media, all you need to do to start is text Wes 2020 to 541-709-6502, 541-709-6502. That is Aggressive Marketing Solutions. Have a great day. See you next time.